welcome back to another episode of the Lonely Liberal Podcast. I am your host, Nick Zankin, and I'm so happy to have you on this lovely Sunday evening. We got a great show for you today. We're going to be going through the news with Rick like we do every Sunday. We got a lot to talk about with all the Epstein drama, the Trump speech, the Brown University stuff, a lot of news actually. So we got a lot to get to. So without further ado, let's get to it. And we are back, folks, with Rick. Rick, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's going great. How's it going with you?
I'm feeling good. I don't know why I said it like that. My Barry White channeled. Oh, my. Do you know Barry White? You know who Barry White is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, my dad loves Barry White. So we always used to listen to his CDs in the car. And I was, you never know, like, is this normal? Like, do people like Barry White? Do people know Barry White?
Yeah, I think of him as more sensual rather than family vacation soundtrack.
Can't get enough of your love, babe. I've heard that song like more than most songs. Another piece of the story falls into place.
Last night I watched the new movie One Battle After Another. Have you seen it yet?
No, how's that?
It was so good. People are saying it's gonna win like Best Picture and everything, but very political movie. So I definitely recommend watching it. It takes place in modern times, but it's about like basically like these violent left-wing revolutionaries that are like freeing immigrants from detention centers. And then this evil US military general that like makes it his project to get back at all of them and kill all of them. But it's really interesting. The general is like the enemy of the movie, played by Sean Penn, and he's like this like wannabe fascist who wants to like join the Illuminati and all these things, but he's like kind of a loser. But it's a great movie.
To modern life.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion and the listener's opinion of like how it relates to Trump and modern politics. Because
totally,
great film.
I'll watch it tonight. There we go.
Yeah, it just got onto HBO like a few days ago.
Cool. HBO might be my favorite streaming app, I think, even though I know they just got bought by Netflix, but I feel like it has maybe the best content overall.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely the best quality.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably that and Netflix if I had to pick. But speaking on HBO, then we'll actually get to the new stuff. Have you seen The Chair Company yet? The Tim Robinson show?
No, I want to, though. It's been recommended, and I feel like I'll really like it, but I haven't seen it yet.
So I just finished the first season. It's 8 episodes. And yeah, I think you'll really like it. I'm not going to spoil anything because it's very weird. It's very in the style of the Friendship movie. Like, it's more like that than it is, like, I Think You Should Leave or whatever, Detroiters. It's definitely like one step away from a horror film at all times, but is a comedy. You know what I mean? Like, which is good. I'm glad that niche is getting filled of like creepy comedy.
Yeah, I love it. I'll definitely check it out.
You'll definitely really like it. I'm full recommendation. But speaking about creepy and no comedy, I'm not going to. Almost a full year in, and my transitions have not gotten any better. But the big story of the week is that the deadline for the Epstein files to be released came and went, and a bunch of files were released. They're calling it the Epstein file dump, which for some reason makes me giggle every time just because it's just like, I guess it's a dump, but yeah. But unfortunately, I guess they didn't do a full dump. They did a partial dump because they said that there's just too many files, which is big drama because the deadline of the law that's mandating this data release said it had to be done all by the deadline set. So that's drama. But yeah, there's a lot more to talk about, but I guess there's a lot. The two kind of main things is that they've basically admitted that they intentionally didn't include Trump-related documents in this initial dump and instead decided to focus heavily on Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Bill is in a lot of the photos. The famous painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress that was hanging in Epstein's house, which we've heard about for, 2 years at this point. We finally got a photo of it, and it's exactly as weird as described. It's literally just Bill Clinton in a blue dress. It kind of looks like bad Photoshop from like 1999 or something.
Also, an interesting piece to have of your friend if you are Jeff Epstein. You know,
Right.
what a funny thing to have in your house.
Very strange. But yeah, lots of photos of famous people, like them at a dinner with Mick Jagger. Another one with like Kevin Spacey and Michael Jackson in it.
Yeah.
A real who's who of creepy dudes.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, suspiciously, Trump seems to be omitted from all the recent releases. And that's something that you're hearing the victims now talk about. Like, why is there so much material from victim testimony and everything else in the files? Why is so much redacted when really the redaction should be to protect the victims? Yet it's the victims saying, we need less of this redacted. This is ridiculous. So I think that's really frustrating, but it does seem like Democratic lawmakers are like pushing for more to be released unredacted. So maybe we'll get more. But yeah, what'd you think about this week's releases?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the first thing to say off the jump is, yeah, Billy Boy, Bubba himself is a certified creep. There's no way around it. That guy needs to go to jail, probably. I mean, these photos are no good. I mean, if anyone, right, like in those, I mean, like, this is a disaster for that guy, and he must go to jail, I think, right? I mean, I know he's an older man, but at the same time, he still is a former president of the United States, and that stuff is freaky, right?
Oh,
I mean, I think off the jump, he's good night, Bill.
Yeah, and I think we need to like reiterate what we've talked about before with these, which is that not every person ever in a photograph with Epstein was friends with him or had any idea what was going on. Like Epstein's whole MO was to infiltrate like highbrow charities and organizations and like buddy up with powerful people. So like, you know, Mick Jagger, there's no evidence he was like on Epstein's island or anything. So like not everyone that you see in the headlines is necessarily friends with him. That being said, Bill Clinton and Trump were definitely friends with him. There's
Exactly.
really no question about it.
100%. And if if there are comparable photos to the photos of Bill, but of Trump instead, I mean, then they, you know, it's the same, it's the same thing, right? I mean, this is a disaster. If these were Trump photos, you know, the whole world would be melting, as it should be, because he's the sitting president of the United States. But it's still of note that a former president is clearly a maniac in every you know, like, this is terrible what he did. I did think it was funny. His spokesperson released a statement on Friday night, and it's kind of an interesting statement because it's not saying like anything about the validity of the photos. It's just like kind of an observation that I think is right. And this is from the statement. The White House hasn't been hiding these files for months only to dump them late on a Friday to protect Bill Clinton. This is about shielding themselves from what comes next, or from what they'll try and hide forever, so they can release as many grainy 20-plus-year-old photos as they want, but this isn't about Bill Clinton. Never has, never will be. I mean, I agree with that sentiment to a point, but I do think it's partially about Bill Clinton. You know, like, you know, he's definitely part of the story, so... but it's true, right?
And
like in the sense that,
like
you know...
Yeah, they're like these ancient 20-year-old photographs. Like, oh, you mean 2005, 5 years after he was president? Like, it's not that
or
long
potentially
ago.
like right after. Yeah, like they're acting like these. Yeah, they're on these stone cave wall paintings
written in Sanskrit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, those are taken like not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, and would be equally incriminating if it was anyone else, you know? So, yeah. But I do think they're right that, you know, and again, the DOJ isn't saying that this is the case. Like, they did pull files. They said they're coming over the next coming weeks. So they just ignored the law. And will there be consequences? Because it's pretty clear that they've broken the requirement from the bill. And both Massey, Ro Khanna, and people from both sides of the aisle actually are kind of uniting around this, that the Justice Department definitely didn't follow the mandate.
Right, exactly. And although Epstein's dead, like, we need to remember Maxwell is very much alive. She knows literally everything that the public wants to know. Maxwell knows. And instead of being tough on her, Trump moved her to a minimum security prison and seemingly got nothing out of it. So we should remember that too.
Never forget. Also, two things to note, and one of them, so we were talking about how redacted everything was. In the files that were dumped on Friday night, there were at least 550 pages completely blacked out. Like solid redaction, like just a black box over the whole page. What's under there? You know what I mean? Like why do that? Like it said not to redact any information other than photos of the victims. You know what I mean? Or the things that could have the victims compromised. How could that be 500? Yeah, it's crazy. But also,
right. And one of those that was fully redacted was from the 2019 grand jury, which is like what people were pushing for in this release from the past few months. So like one of the most important documents was completely redacted.
And that doesn't seem like it's a surprise. Also, and I don't know if you saw this because it was just this morning, but CBS has reported that it compared what it downloaded on Friday night to what is online right now. And there are 15 to 16 files removed, including the only photo of Trump.
Wow, that's crazy.
So what? What?
Right.
I mean, Trump keeps going, oh, yeah, I'm support the law. This is all Democratic hoax. Yet the only one of the only confirmed missing files is the only photo of Trump. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Wow. Yeah, that's insane.
So, I mean, it's insulting to the victim. Congress is saying that they're going to maybe potentially impeach DOJ officials. Do you think they should? I mean, they clearly have broken the law here by not releasing the full files.
Yeah, definitely. I think they should. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Their defense will obviously be some sort of combination of we're protecting the victims and protecting the security of the United States or, some BS like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they're really just protecting the personal image of Trump.
Exactly. And it's never been more clear. Also, and I know that she didn't say this under oath, but let's not remember Pam Bondi saying there were no Epstein files.
Right.
What happened? What happened, Pam? She said, I mean, I think, because it feels so long ago, even though it was only really like 6 months ago, we heard for months that there were no Epstein files from the Trump campaign. And now there's tens of thousands of documents. Like, where were these?
Right. We went from when Biden was president, everyone, including the right wing, talking about how many Epstein files there were and how important they were to be released. Then Pam Bondi comes in and says, they're on my desk, I'm reviewing them. Then a week later, she says, they actually don't exist, never mind. And then a month later, they pass a bill to release like 100,000 documents.
And apparently, who Pam Bondi was protecting when she said there was no files was Bill Clinton. Because the only files they released were of Bill. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. Obviously, this is like a huge, they're not even this isn't even a conspiracy when they're doing it so obvious, right? Like, the protection is crazy. And they all, the DOJ should get in trouble for this. They broke the law, and now they're, clearly protecting. So here's the question for you, and then we can move on to the next one. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that there's going to be more files that will be released over the next few weeks. And probably there'll be some more Trump ones than there is now. Do you have confidence that we will actually see all of the documents that are related? Or do you think that basically no matter what, the administration will hide the most critical pieces of evidence that could be related to Trump?
I think they'll hide it no matter what. I think maybe in the next administration with a different president, we might see more of the files unredacted. But I don't see that now. And especially the evidence that we have that Trump and Epstein were friends, that evidence is so clear to me that what they must be protecting must be pretty bad, or else
it's got to be a photo, right, of him with the girls or something. If there were something,
it's got to be him with victims, because we don't just have a photo of Epstein and Trump. We have that video of them on Inside Edition or whatever, checking out a bunch of girls and talking about them and talking about their friendship. So it has to be worse than that. whatever they're hiding.
Because we have the emails, too, of Epstein going, I can't believe they haven't found out about Trump knowing about the girls. Like, I mean,
Right.
yeah, so you're right. It has to be worse than that. It has to be. I do worry, though, that if it were to be in a new administration that these things got released, the MAGA world will just say it's edited and stuff like that.
Right, and they'll say, why are you focusing on Trump? It's old news, even though they're so locked in on
Bill
Bubba
Clinton.
Clinton.
Yeah, Bubba boy. And notice how not a single person, not even Bubba himself, has said these photos are fake.
Right.
No one is defending Bill, not even himself. He just called them old. I love how he added the grainy 20-year-old grainy old photos.
It's so obvious they're all of Bill Clinton that's all he could say.
He goes, they can keep focusing on these grainy old photos. Bill, yep, they're grainy, all right, and you're a fucking perv. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You're a freaking creep. They may be grainy. He's such a jerk. It's so ridiculous. But again, no one's defending him because we're not a cult in the same way. Exactly. But speaking of which, because these files came out on Friday, this is definitely a week of smoke screens, I'd say, where like Trump knowing that he could potentially be under a lot of drama because of these Epstein files, did a lot of different smoke screens this week. And perhaps the biggest one was his big speech, which happened on the 17th, which he's, a State of the Nation type of address. And basically, he spent the entire time saying how horrible Biden was, how horrible the government he inherited. Don't blame him for all the problems that you faced this year. Next year, we're going to be showered in gold because he's a genius, basically. And then there's other more specifics, but what were your thoughts on this speech?
This speech was wild. It was Trump at his most off script, out of his mind, rambling on random topics. Like it was as bad as we've ever seen from him, which is perfect timing given all the accusations of him having dementia. But I mean, the speech was supposed to be about affordability, and this is the CNN headline following the speech. Trump talks about neuroses, selecting chairs, and his wife's underwear drawer in latest affordability speech. He
weird.
Complained that when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, they raided her panty drawer. He went on to elaborate, talking about his wife's underwear, quote, I think she steams them.
The hell?
He then went on, this is all within the same speech. He then went on to talk about when he went to North Carolina to buy furniture. Quote, the arm of a chair was very important to me. I said, I like that chair, but this arm has to be a different shape. I'm a very aesthetic person, believe me, except with women. I don't care what a woman looks like. I used to say beautiful. Now I don't care. This is an 80-year-old rambling, crazy old man who's supposed to be talking about the economy, and he's talking about his wife's underwear and how he doesn't care about what women look like. He will have sex with any of them. That's what his affordability speech was about.
What a treat. And it also, but this is what his rallies are always like. They just didn't ever get covered on the news that often. You know what I mean? Because he does so many of them. This is his thing.
Right. And rarely would people ever listen to a full Trump speech, even his supporters, unless you see him live in person. Like, I remember watching the first time he ran for president, watching some of his speeches in full, like the full 45 minutes. And I was like, this guy is so off book and so out of his mind. But the media never picks up on that. They just, do the clips. But the only big applause he got in this whole speech was making fun of Hillary, saying beating Hillary was fun, she was a nasty person, et cetera, et cetera. That was the only applause line he got.
That was a huge one, and it was ridiculous.
that was a decade ago, by the way, that election.
And famously, she never got locked up. His big promise. You got to feel bad for Hillary, right? I mean, this has been a rough week for Hillary in general. It's just, these photos of Bill are probably so embarrassing to her. She's just like, oh my God. I can't get away from this guy.
Right. And, like, I don't want to, criticize her for her husband's actions, but she should have gotten that divorce in 1998. Let's be honest.
It would be so funny if she filed for divorce next week.
Yeah,
this is my line.
30 years after Lewinsky.
She just goes, this is the line in the sand for me. I'm running for president in 2028.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and then, obviously he gave his other speech, which was about when he announced the thing for the military. He's going to write one-time checks for each military member of $1,776 because of the tariffs or whatnot. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy for the military guys. Do wonder why. It's funny. The thing about the tariff checks and all this stuff that's been interesting is I thought the tariffs were there to help, bring down the debt, but they're giving the money back, apparently. So what happened to it's just so funny how the debt is clearly just such a fake issue for people. Like, it's such a fake issue.
Right. And Trump has he's promised to use the tariff funds to do 25 different things.
Yeah, exactly.
That all costs 10 times the amount
of tariffs
is bringing in.
Exactly.
It's so ridiculous. Once again, with these military checks, Trump said they're coming from the tariffs, and then later his administration is asked about it, and a spokesperson says, well, technically they're coming from this existing fund that has nothing to do with tariff. So even they admit it's all bullshit right after. Trump, he's desperate for a win. Like you said, it's a lot of smoke screens, and he's desperate for a positive news story, I think.
For sure. But one of the pieces of good news is that in that speech, the more not the rally one, the more formal one, was people were worried he was going to announce that the U.S. was going to war with Venezuela. I think that was a lot of people's fears, and that didn't happen, which is great. Now, that being said, since then, the U.S. has seized 2 more vessels off the coast of Venezuela. And I actually, I was talking to someone, I forget who I was talking about this with, but they were talking about our show, and we were talking about Venezuela, and I was saying, I don't think people realize that when we say that they're bombing boats off Venezuela or seizing boats off Venezuela, it's right off the coast of Venezuela. Even if it's an international water, it's right near them. It's not like they're mid-transit near Mexico or whatnot, and that's where they're getting bombed. It's near Venezuela. And so anyways, speaking of these vessels that are getting taken and abducted by the US right now, the seized, just the correct word. They're in Venezuela's realm. They're not wherever, near Florida or whatever.
Right. And they're also suspected drug dealers. They're not suspected terrorists, even though he's calling them narco-terrorism because he needs the legal justification. That just is not, you can't just go around murdering suspected drug dealers in other countries. That's against international law. But he needs some sort of legal justification. So he says they're narco-terrorists that are imminently going to damage the U.S. safety or whatever. But yeah, it's crazy. And it's where is the line between repeatedly bombing another country and going to war with that country? There's no clear line. And it just seems like we're so quickly on the way to that. But you have Pete Hegseth saying, quote, "This is not the beginning of a war. It is a declaration of vengeance. Today we hunted and we killed our enemies, lots of them, and we will continue." The guy wants to be Liam Neeson from Taken so bad.
So bad.
So bad. He's saying this isn't a war, standing in front of a sign that says the Department of War. Too.
Saying that he's killing his enemies. What is that? What is it then? And also, yeah, and I talked about this on the Wednesday show because I did the Wednesday one about fentanyl and how Trump has now reclassified illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. Anyone who hears the phrase weapon of mass destruction probably has a chill down their spine, because how do you not think of Iraq, right?
Right. That's the phrase that justified the largest U.S. war since Vietnam.
But fentanyl doesn't come from Venezuela. You know what I mean? So, like, but it's, to your point, calling them narco terrorists, fentanyl. It's almost like you said, blurring the lines between immigration policy and war, you know? Like, it's so like, oh, well, we're just trying to stop drugs from entering the country. We're just trying to stop illegal immigrants from entering the country. So we kill them on the way. But like, because is that a war, or is that like you know what I mean? Like, I would say it's a war, but and international law would say it's a war. But like it's a weird little kind of psychological loophole that they're trying to play to get away with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. One thing that we talked about last week that kind of was resolved this week, even though it was really, really weird. The Brown University had the big shooting last week, obviously a tragedy. 2 kids were killed and 9 were wounded. The guy was found dead. But the interesting story about this was that the guy also shot allegedly, I guess this isn't proven, murdered an MIT physics professor in his home in Brookline, Mass. And after 5 days, the suspect was found dead by suicide, they're saying, in a storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire. And he had been dead for a few days. What's interesting is that not only there's so much about this manhunt that's so interesting, but one thing that really I find interesting is that investigations said that a Reddit tipster was a big part of finding this thing. And yeah, big victory for the Reddit detectives. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, obviously it's sad for the kids who got killed and the guy who got shot, but it's a lot of drama, and I feel like a documentary will be made.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the Reddit part is interesting because it's great that they found the guy. They had nothing but an extremely blurry photograph for 3 days. And then some guy on Reddit named John basically saw the photo, said, I was in this MIT building and outside, and I had this weird, awkward interaction with this guy who was acting super suspicious and also not dressed for winter whatsoever. And other Reddit people commented saying, like, you should call the police or the FBI, like, if you were really at that location that they're looking. And then one thing led to another. That's what allowed them to find his car, which eventually led to the storage unit. So all of that shows like kind of the benefits of social media, but also there were at least 2 suspects that were misidentified in the days before they found him. So just random people that people went, oh, this is this guy's name. This happened famously in the Boston Marathon bombing as well.
Yep.
So like, I'm kind of reluctant to cheer on this as like a win for social media, because like other people are being swept up in this stuff. And like, can you imagine you're just a regular person and suddenly your face is on the news as the most wanted terrorist because you slightly look like another guy in a blurry photo?
Disaster. And it's not this has happened now twice. Remember with the Charlie Kirk assassination, they arrested that old guy and then blasted his picture all over the internet, and it turned out not to be him.
Right.
Okay. And I'm not trying at all to suggest that, FBI officers aren't trying their best and they're not doing a good job where they can. And I'm not trying to politicize everything. That being said, don't you have this weird feeling that the FBI is moving slower than normal? And this is like, how did this take this long? Or are we, does it always take this long and I'm just being short-sighted? Because to me, it was like shocking that this was such a mystery for as long as it was, given it's 2025 in a pretty populated area.
Right. And this is like, let's remember too, not just the Kirk shooting, but the Trump assassination attempt was like a complete disaster of law enforcement. Of like, this guy in 2025 shot the president, or almost.
Hit the year.
I don't know if anything. But they like took days to figure it out. I mean, this was the biggest manhunt in the country, and it took 5 days, and all they had was a blurry photo of a guy in a mask for 3 full days. It does kind of seem like the FBI has lost a step, and they're just relying on Reddit detectives to solve their problems.
And it's like, maybe they should stop focusing on like going through people's phones at Visa. Like, maybe it reeks of me of like, it's just too much of an ICE focus. And like, I don't know. It's not related. I'm just being ridiculous. But like, Even with the Luigi stuff, remember that took like a few like a McDonald's employee called it
That
and all that?
also took 5 days.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, to me, it feels like there used to be a little bit more snappiness when it comes to, like, catching this stuff. I don't maybe I'm being a little too harsh on Kosh. I mean, I don't like Kosh, but, like, I don't know about this operation, man. It's just this feels like a slower thing.
Well, none of these suspects, Luigi, the Trump shooter, the Kirk shooter, now the Brown shooter, none of these suspects were incredibly intelligent or well planned
Yeah.
perpetrators. Like these are crazy, obviously crazy, mentally unwell people that were motivated to, commit these violent acts. But like none of these guys were like ex CIA, like ex Marines trained in counter surveillance. Like none of these guys have any experience evading law enforcement, and yet they're able to evade the entire US federal government for days until someone on the internet recognizes them.
Yeah. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, it's funny because I think, like, it's a good example of how all of this stuff has some sort of effect on everyone in some way, shape, or form, you know? It's just yeah, and these are the types of moments, where you don't totally notice, but yeah, anyway. But I wanted to talk about one of the least talked about things in the news this week, even though it was an absolutely huge deal, in my opinion, which is, did you know that this week a ISIS attack in Syria killed 2 National Guard soldiers and an American interpreter, and there was a retaliatory strike called Operation Hawkeye, where we shot US and Jordanian forces struck around 70 ISIS target sites all around Syria. They say 5 ISIS fighters were killed, 23 ISIS suspects detained. This is the largest US operation against ISIS in Syria in like a long, long time. And yeah, the United States just bombed another country again. And how come this wasn't on the news that much? It's crazy.
Yeah, it really got overshadowed by the Brown shooting and the Rob Reiner stuff, which we'll get to. But yeah, it's also like they launched over 70 attacks in the
Yeah.
days after the attack on the military. And it's like, I guess my question for them is like, if the Department of War is so on top of defending us against our enemies, why weren't they attacking these targets before? Like, it seems like they're just desperate for any justification to bomb Syria more or Venezuela when it comes to them. And like, these aren't completely necessary to national security. That's how it comes off to me, anyways.
And this is weeks after we had the Syrian president in the White House with Trump, you know?
Right.
And I just want people to take stock that the American first no more foreign conflicts guy has like bombed like 4 countries now. I mean, in 1 year, we've bombed Iran, we've bombed Venezuela, we've bombed Syria. And I think that's it. I mean, we've given
Probably
weapons.
Lebanon.
Yeah, probably Lebanon. Maybe, we've aided obviously Ukraine wars, which I think is good, but still. And yeah, we've given missiles to South Korea and Japan. Like, to me, like, well, I don't know the specifics, and obviously it's a tragedy that those 2 dudes got killed by ISIS, obviously. I thought that war was done? Question mark, question mark. I guess we're still fighting ISIS in Syria and bombing them. And, yeah, how many more times is the US gonna bomb someone and it not be considered a war? I find it funny that, like, that isn't considered, like, a conflict escalation, whereas, like, if any other just seems like it's so weird that Trump can still somehow maintain this image of, "I don't get involved in foreign affairs," when he's so involved in foreign affairs.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's sadly, I feel like with how unpopular the war in Iraq got, I do feel like this is the new norm because you even saw it during Obama's second term with bombing Libya and Syria.
Libya. Yeah.
Like, you're just, it's too unpopular to propose a war. Um, especially when obviously all of the wars since World War II like aren't a formal country attacking the US. They're all like these, different
international proxy events. Yeah.
Yeah, other wars that like we're getting involved in. So yeah, I feel like this is just the new norm of like Trump can bomb as many countries as he wants, but he just won't call it a war so his supporters can keep saying he's America first.
Exactly. It's just, I wish people realized, this is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's justified, maybe it's not. I find it so weird that it's not even like major news story when the U.S. bombs other countries. It's just so expected. But speaking of the military, and this is a more silly story, but I guess not really silly. It's just weird. So this week, the U.S. announced that it will stop shooting pigs and goats to train medics. And apparently, and I never knew this, maybe Rick, you knew this, I didn't know this, that the Pentagon has been doing something it calls live tissue training, which is shooting, stabbing, and blowing up pigs and goats so trainees can practice trauma care. They will now be transitioning to high-fidelity human simulators. Did you know they were doing this? I didn't know they were blowing pigs up.
I did not know, but it doesn't... I mean, when you think about how much animals are used in medical research, and I assume like surgery practice as well, I guess it does kind of make sense.
Yeah.
My question for you, is this an example of the military going woke?
That's a great question. I'm surprised under Hegseth's War Department they're willing to do something like this.
Why is he protecting the sheep when he is a war pig himself?
Exactly. Why is he becoming the said sheep he used to blow up so casually?
The story, it's weird, but it does strike me as a story that if a Democrat was president, it would be all over Fox News saying, can you believe that they're so politically correct that all these vegans are now sparing these pigs?
It's just so funny. Yeah, it's such a crazy thought of me to think about, like, them in a field, and they're just like, all right, blow up the goat, and then the goat gets bombed, and then they run over. Like,
pretend it's a guy.
That's a dude. Like, stabbing the goat and just being like, patch it up. Poor goat. It's awful. But hey, a rare win for science and ethics in the U.S. Department of War. Completely unrelated. Actually, fairly related. Not really, but I just think it's funny. So listen to this. So the White House this week has unveiled something they're referring to as the Patriot Games for Kids, which is a 4-day national athletic competition for high school students as part of the U.S. 250th anniversary, or what they're calling America 250. Each state... Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. This is it from the website. Each state and U.S. territory will send one young man and one young woman to compete explicitly in sex-segregated and aligned, and making sure it's aligned with keeping men out of women's sports executive order. So there'll be a single man and a single woman from each state to fight it out in front of the White House. Does that remind you of any fictitious plot line?
Hunger Games, perhaps?
Maybe comes to mind. I mean, what do you think about this?
It's crazy. And it's like the UFC fight they're planning for the same weekend is going to be a bunch of billionaires and the president of the most powerful country watching a bunch of dudes fight in a cage. And yet they needed to add more because that wasn't Hunger Games enough. They were like, let's bring in some high school kids and prove another point. Yeah.
They're all sending 2 teens to go fight on compete on national TV in front of the leadership. It's so weird. But don't you think, like,
it's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
And the announcement, like in the announcement, Trump goes after the quote you just said about one man, one woman, he's from each state. Trump goes, but I promise there will be no men playing in the women's sports. You're not going to see that. So it's like you're planning a whole giant event just to make a hacky, dumb political point about trans people.
Yeah, literally.
It's so dumb.
It also is giving major, like, late Empire vibes. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
like Colosseum type,
Gladiator, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this isn't usually how governments run when things are going well. They don't send one kid and one boy and one girl from each state to duke it out in front of the nation's government.
Send your firstborn child to the White House.
Volunteer as tribute. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
And like, no person that's politically against Trump at all would accept that invitation. So it's going to be a bunch of like future MAGA wannabes that end up competing there too. Just sad and dumb all around.
Every time a child is disqualified, you will hear the trumpet play. So dumb. It's so dumb. It's so weird. This country is becoming so weird. Last on this, of course, I'd love to go through some of the sponsors. We have Amazon, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin, and Coinbase. You know,
drain the swamp, baby.
Oh,
glad he's draining it.
The Lockheed Martin sponsored Child Patriot games, where 2 children from each state are sent to compete. Sponsored by Coca-Cola. It's like so weird.
And we thought the Marines sending people to high school cafeterias to do pull-ups was stupid.
I know. It's just like, what are we? This country is something else, man. The same week you can take the over on measles patients. Measles kids, you can then bet live on the children at the Patriots games. I mean, what are we talking about? It's even worse than these dystopian books and movies.
Yeah, thank God we elected the businessman whose focus was the economy.
Thank God. Thank God our borders are secure. Thank God. I just don't know what I would do with our southern border being what it was before. Anyways, last thing on the news list, just thought this was interesting. This week, Mitt Romney, as known for his Mormonism and now being a senator, not being a president, governor of Mass, former president candidate, and former senator of Utah. By the way, what an expansive political career. He published a New York Times op-ed called "Tax the Rich Like Me," and basically said, you know, people like me need to pay more. Republicans need to be the party that raises taxes on the wealthy. Yeah, good, nice dream. Thought it was interesting, though, because it seems like another conscious kind of clearing exercise for Romney.
Yeah, exactly. And side note, because you mentioned Mormonism, as part of a class in middle school, I actually visited Mitt Romney's Mormon church in Massachusetts, and he was actually the president of the church in the early 2000s. Yeah. While he was governor, at one point, he was the president of this. It's like the biggest Mormon church anywhere around here, north of Boston. And yeah, as part of my confirmation class in Hebrew school, we did 1 year dedicated to learning about other religions, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah,
so we
cool.
visited like all other houses of worship, and one of them was this Mitt Romney's Mormon church. So we went, and it was a bunch of super nice old people, and they gave us cookies.
Unreal.
So they made a positive impression on the Jewish confirmation class, but yeah, very strange. Unusual religion, but that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, but seemed like a fairly nice group.
Oh, yeah. The stereotype of like they're being so friendly proved true in my experience.
What a great stereotype to have.
Right.
Good on them.
The other stereotype is that they marry 10 women each, but that's a different topic.
Can't win them all. Let her.
Yeah,
good time management.
The Romney op-ed, I mean, I'm happy to hear it coming from such a trickle-down champion and super rich Republican. Like, it's good to hear, but at the same time, like, he's been cast aside by the modern Republican Party for so many years. Like, it's been since Trump ran the first time that he's been pretty much kicked out of the party. Like, yes, he moved to Utah from Massachusetts and was a senator for a few years, but he had to resign and like for the most part, he's not really part of the party anymore.
No, he's
So I'm
basically a
happy about
communist.
it. Yeah.
Most MAGA people would call him a communist at this point. I mean,
Right. But
yeah.
it's definitely not as significant as somebody in the MAGA world coming out for this.
Well, and speaking of which, just in that North Carolina, that rant we were talking about earlier, Trump also called Marjorie Taylor Greene a stone cold liberal, which, my God. If they start believing she's a liberal, what does that even mean anymore? I mean,
it's a funny phrase too, because usually you hear like bleeding heart liberal, or like a phrase that emphasizes liberal tendencies for compassion. So stone cold liberal is a pretty funny phrase.
Well, and that confirms what we've been always talking about, that everyone's a liberal if you don't agree with Trump.
Right.
Yeah. It's not actually, there's no such thing as, which might make Marjorie Taylor Greene the loneliest liberal of them all, because she's not liked by anyone now. If the conservatives don't like her, she'll never be considered a liberal, really. So she's a pretty lonely liberal.
Yeah, she seems to be making a quick career change, and I am just hoping it doesn't end up with an MSNBC primetime show, because it seems like she's turning in that direction.
She can happily have a reoccurring segment on our show if she wants.
Yeah, Marjorie, come on over.
Come on. We can lament it all together, and we can hopefully talk some sense into you about the weather. But I just think that's one of the funniest platforms to have in your like policy tool belt, is that the weather is being controlled. Just find that so funny. I can't get over that. But that's the news on the politics side. Like you mentioned, we do have a cultural talking point, and I think, we want to make sure that Linda has a job. So I think it might as well be.
It's time for Rick's Cultural Corner.
She's got to earn her
Thank you,
paycheck,
Linda.
Rick.
Yeah.
If she doesn't make her appearance, she doesn't get anything. So
yeah, we're paying her 6 figures to say one sentence per week. So
hey, don't forget. And then we have her backup saying,
"Another great point by Rick."
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyways, so this week, right? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so we should talk about the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, which is just terrible.
Terrible.
They were stabbed in their house, and allegedly by their son, Nick Reiner.
Bad day for Nicks across the country.
Yes. History of substance abuse and mental health issues, although obviously that doesn't explain murdering your parents. But I think the weird kind of part that has swept up the culture was Rob and his wife and son went to Conan O'Brien's Christmas party at Conan's house on Saturday night, and then the murder was committed sometime through the night or into Sunday morning. So the murder happened within hours of them going to this party at Conan's house, and there's reports that at the party, Nick Reiner was going up to celebrities and interrupting their conversations and asking, "Who are you? Are you famous?" to like very famous people that he knows well. So was like Bill Hader was one of them, but very weird. And then apparently he got in a very loud fight with his dad, with Rob, and then Conan. This is all like reported, and some of this is TMZ reported, so take this with a grain of salt. But
the ripped guy on TMZ, the guy with who wears the tight
Harvey
shirts.
Levin.
Yeah. That's our dream, to become Harvey Levin. That'd be incredible.
Yeah. So apparently they reported that they got in a loud argument, and then Conan may have encouraged people not to call police. Again, that's like reported. I don't know what, but it seems like Rob Reiner was just trying to cool off the entire situation. And the reason he took his son to this party was because like his son was clearly doing very badly mentally, and I don't think he wanted to leave him alone. So obviously it's terrible what happened to Reiner and his wife. But on a side note, like I kind of feel bad for Conan O'Brien too, because all he did was have a Christmas party and then tell his friend Rob Reiner that, sure, your son can come. Like That's all Conan did. But now all these headlines are about this all happened at Conan's house and what really happened at the party and all this drama. But yeah, what was your reaction to all this?
I think it was pretty weird, right? And what's funny about it is that not only have people getting, freaking like Conan and Bill Hader and stuff kind of dragged into it. One of the weirdest things so far is probably the backlash Trump is getting from his post about it. And I think that's so dumb just because I just think, why is our president so active on social media tweeting about people in culture? But one of the lowest polling topics, according to YouGov, is Trump's response to Rob Reiner's death is one of the harshest graded things by a bipartisan support from people. And did you read what he said?
Yeah, I did. It was a disaster.
Yeah, him just saying, attacking Reiner, about him
Trump
being
made
obsessed.
it all up. Yeah, Trump made it all about himself, said Rob Reiner had Trump derangement syndrome and was obsessed with Trump. And it's just like, it's such a display of Trump's narcissism that if it was in a movie with somebody with narcissistic personality disorder, it would be criticized as being too unrealistic.
100%.
Too over the top.
And I don't even really... and then of course the news story when you Google it is Trump doubles down on Reiner criticism, sparking fury. Trump outraged at Reiner. Like, why is he so mad? He's just always so mad.
And it takes a specific type of narcissism to publicly go after somebody that was just murdered because they once said something bad about you. And then it's another level for, like, why is Trump mad? Like you said, like,
why is he mad?
None of it makes any sense. And just like Trump rambling about his wife's underwear in a speech about inflation, like, it's another sign where if anybody's grandfather was acting like this, there would be like immediate cause for concern and like a family meeting about what we should do about grandpa.
We need to move him into a home. Yeah. No. Right. And it's just so funny that 66% of Republicans polled in this YouGov said it was an inappropriate remark, yet only 40% of all Americans think what's happening with ICE is inappropriate. I agree the comment was inappropriate, but it's just so funny how cult issues evoke such strong responses from people, whereas mass deportations or murders and all this stuff like real serious policy stuff just doesn't register an emotional response nearly to the same degree as Trump tweeting something nasty about Rob Reiner after he got killed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's kind of, I think when you consider MAGA kind of being cultish and they really believe anything Trump says, one evidence of this is that throughout the Epstein file releases of the past month, his approval rating has went up 1%.
Yeah.
From where it was a month ago. And these are, his supporters that really cared about the Epstein files 1 year ago, but no longer do. And they're just believing what Trump says, which is that he hated the guy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of an example of they truly believe anything Trump says and they'll just run with it. Whereas this statement about Rob Reiner, they believe that Trump thinks that. And so they're outraged about this because there's no spin you can put on this. This is a immature toddler, angry 5-year-old rant, and there's no spin they can put on it. Whereas everything else, like the deportations, they can say, oh, but Trump says it's only violent criminals.
Yep. And Rob Reiner isn't a political figure. If this same thing had happened to Nancy Pelosi or something like that, and everything was exactly the same, but you just find and replaced Nancy instead of Rob, they would be no one would say, oh, that's inappropriate. When Biden got announced with cancer, at first he said he was sad, and then he did a huge victory lap, and no one really cared. You know, like
and Nancy Pelosi's own husband was attacked in their house and almost
he
got
cheered
killed.
it on.
Nobody cared. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like he gets it's funny. He gets a pass for being a maniac on social media when it's about political people or like news reporters. But when it's about celebrities, it's a little bit more touchy. He attacks Rosie O'Donnell, Bruce Springsteen. People are a little upset, but he attacks, when Jake Tapper, people are like, yeah, I don't give a crap about Jake Tapper. Screw that guy. It's kind of funny. It's just kind of funny. I find it really interesting what actually seems to bother the MAGA folks versus what doesn't.
Yeah, very interesting.
But I guess that's it. I think that's our week. What a good show as we wind up. Next week is Christmas. You feeling the jolly? You feeling good?
I'm feeling okay. I rewatched The Grinch, the Jim Carrey one.
You're like, I rewatched the one about the guy stealing Christmas.
Yeah, I was like, that guy reminds me of my friend Nick a lot.
What, after his heart grew 12 sizes that day.
Of course.
Naturally.
Yeah, how about you?
I mean, it's nice. I like it. It'll be good. I went to my first ever Hanukkah party last week, which was kind of interesting.
Wow, have some latkes.
Had some latkes. Did the prayer. I didn't know the prayer. I didn't know about that prayer that you say when you light the candle. I don't know how you remember that. It's intense.
Yeah, it is. Although, like most Jewish prayers, like the first half is the Baruch Atah Adonai. It's like the first half is usually the same, so that helps a lot.
Okay, good. Because like I was like, whoa. How do you guys remember? And granted, obviously we've got our own set of prayers, but they're at least in all, it's not a different language.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of a sneaky little fact that like there's just a second language out there that I guess I'm a little surprised that people like. I guess if I knew a second language and I had friends that knew a second language, I would use it more in public just to like gossip. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more.
That would really fuel the anti-Semitic conspiracy.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
If Jews spoke Hebrew to each other in public so they could talk shit about Gentiles.
I guess you're right. That wouldn't play well.
Marjorie would have something to say about it.
She'd be like, what are they saying?
They're speaking in tongues.
I know, but I feel like if the roles were reversed and there was some like Latin language that all like Christians knew, I guarantee they would use it for gossip.
Right. I think Latin used to be used that way in Christianity, right? It's just like they kind of modernized it at some point. Yeah.
They phased it out. Yeah. A lot of the old stuff, though, was in Latin. Yeah, they just translated it out. I think they were like, there's no way they're going to keep these two things going. But no, yeah, I was thinking to that was my first thought was like, this would be a great gossip language. You wouldn't know. No one would know it. But yeah, you're right. It would not help the image, maybe. Anyway, all right, man. We'll have a good holiday. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you. See you later.
See you, dude. Thanks. And that's our show, folks. Thank you so much for listening today. If you like the show, please give it a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. I would really appreciate it. And actually, I'd love to hear what you guys think about what we talked about. So you can either shoot us an email at thelonelyliberalpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just comment on YouTube, and that would be equally great. That'll do it. We probably won't have a show next Wednesday as it's Christmas Eve, and I will be celebrating. Next Sunday, I'm unsure, but definitely no show Wednesday, and we'll see about next week. I'm 50-50, I guess. Well, let me know. All right, well, have a great holiday. Thank you so much for listening, per usual, and until then, I'll talk to you later. Bye.